Hi guys, it's John from Poor Man's Wisdom here. I believe we recorded a song we did at church a couple Sundays ago. We haven't got it yet posted to our page here, but we'll get that posted. We're going to do in a couple Sundays. We're going to do the anchor holds. Brian said something about want to do that. His mom wants us to do that, but we'll get that posted as well. We're working on some new music. Uh, but today, what I want to talk about is what. Don't zoom in on too much. It's got your phone number on it now. What this is all about. November is Epilepsy Awareness Month, and I was just diagnosed back in August, although I've had it all my life. Um, I remember my first episode was when I was 2 years old. I, of course, don't remember that. But my parents and my grandparents said that they were afraid they were going to lose me, so I almost died, I believe. I had a fever or something, and that may have triggered that one. The one I remember though was when I was 12 years old, when I was riding the school bus. I was talking to my friend, and uh, the next thing I know, I was in the back of my parents' car, and I was looking up at my mom, trying to figure out how in the world I got in the back of the car. Because the last thing I remember, I was in the back of the school bus. And they were like, he's confused. He don't know where he's at." I know where I'm at. I'm just trying to figure out how I got here. Um, but I remember we went to Children's Hospital, and went to the doctor, several visits to the doctor, and they just told me, "We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened." Um, I was on medicine, and then they took me off of it, and never really got any answers from that. Um, then I had one when I was 23, I believe, 23. I was still living home with my parents, and it was Mother's Day, and I wanted to get up and make breakfast for my mother. And of course, Mom and Dad were notorious for getting up really early, so I had to get up really early to get up before them. So I was getting up and I was making eggs, and the next thing I know, I was laying on the couch with a rag on my head. My dad was asking me, did I know where I was at? Um, but that one, I believe, was one of the worst ones I'd ever had. I had chewed my tongue up so much that it was actually black. I mean, my tongue was black as you can't see it with the phone case here. It was really black, and it was really sore all day long. I had to talk like this all day long. Um, but that one they said was most likely due to lack of sleep. So it's very important to get sleep. Make sure you get sleep. Make sure you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep every day. Um, and then I had one last year. It wasn't as bad. My wife, running the camera there, noticed that I was staring off into space. I believe that's the first one I've ever had like that. Most of the time they're full, shaking, full body seizures. This one was just kind of staring off into space, and I seen my regular doctor that I see locally here, and he was real worried about it and sent me to a doctor up at UAB, a specialist, and she kind of dismissed it because something about it didn't sound right to her. So she kind of dismissed it and sent me back to work. Oh, and something I forgot to mention, here in the state of Alabama, if you have a seizure, you can't drive or operate heavy machinery for 6 months. Which, when I was 23, I was working at Dollar General, so they went ahead and released me back to work because it was minor things. But now I'm working at a manufacturing plant, and we operate heavy machinery, so they're a little bit more picky about sending me back to work here. Um, but last year, I was out of work for a good while last year. But the Dr. UAB went ahead and sent me back to work, and then this year, back in July, the tail end of July. Actually, no, let's see. We're winding back to May. I actually had a car wreck, and I was having some episodes stemmed from that car wreck. They weren't seizures by any chance, but they were. I was feeling kind of confused, just feeling kind of weird. And some doctors, I did go see a specialist at UAB. She believed they could have been linked to epilepsy, and then they decided to go ahead and set up a full week study to monitor me with the EEG. And uh, and she went ahead and put me on some medicine, and I missed a dose, 2 doses, and then I did have a seizure that once again Corley noticed, and we went ahead and told work about it and everything. Of course, that got me out of work again for 6 months. That was July, and I can't go back till December 18th. Assuming the doctor releases me. I go back and see the doctor on December 18th. That's assuming she releases me to go back to work. So it's been a headache. But the week-long EEG, when they did finally see me, they did finally see little clues that did tell them that I do have epilepsy. So it is a blessing to know the answer finally that I do have epilepsy. And now I'm on medicine, so it's I'll know that I won't have them as long as I'm taking medicine like I'm supposed to, and as long as I follow all the rules along with it. But it's a blessing now to know, but it was really scary not to know what was going on, because it spanned it out over several years between episodes, but it was always scary. It'd always be at the back of my mind, is something going to happen? And I'm pretty sure Carly's back there nodding her head. It was always scary to be at the back of your mind, is something going to happen, even though you feel fine, or if you have a slight headache or something, you think, oh no, am I going to have a seizure? Or if you're slightly tired, you don't know. Every once in a while, just go through your mind, is something going to happen? So that was the scary part of it. But now that I know, I think life is going to get a little bit better, because now that I know, as long as I take my medicine, everything should be fine. So there's that little bit of relief. But since it is Epilepsy Awareness Month, I just would like to share this one little thing. Is several things you should do if someone you know has a seizure. There are several things you should do for them. There's a couple myths I'd like to dispel. For one is, I know it's a popular myth that you're supposed to stick something in their mouth to keep them from chewing on their tongue or something like that. Do not do that, because they will end up swallowing, or they could risk swallowing the object you place in their mouth. So don't do that. Don't put anything in their mouth. 2, the best thing you can do is to place them on their side, because a lot of seizures, there's regard foaming at the mouth. So place them on their side so all that saliva and everything can drain out of the mouth, and they won't risk drowning in it or choking on it or anything. The best thing you can do is lay them on their side, place something under their head to keep them from hurting themselves, and just wait for it to preside, and then wait for them to regain consciousness, and make sure they know where they're at, make sure they're not confused or anything, because if they were to get up and they seem fine, they might still be confused and might walk out and somewhere and bump into something where they don't know where they're at. Make sure you can ask them questions, make sure they know where they're at, make sure they're fully aware of everything. And then, sorry, we had to pause there for a second, but I believe I dropped off at
Call
911 after they regain consciousness and everything. But yeah, that's basically it. So I hope these help somebody if someone has a seizure or anything, and hopefully we'll get some more music posted on here soon. Peace, y'all.
Oh,
Dork.
well, what time does Bama start today, Corey?
2:30.